Hello, I'm Tom, and I'll be presenting my website called Text Complexity Analysis. This website lets you easily see the differences in trends between different bodies of work. So different speeches, different texts, and anything that can be written out into paragraphs can be analyzed with this tool. So I'll just dive right into it. So here we have a list of a bunch of different speeches, and also the body of work for Flowers of Algernon. As we can see here, we're graphing the Coleman-Liu index, which is based off the syllable count for all the words in a sentence. But we can also filter it by any different type of, not filter, we can graph it by any other of these statistics. So for example, we can do average syllables per word. And then we can kind of see these trend lines that are forming. So in the Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, he starts off with these big, long words, and then towards the middle he starts to drop down and gets into these shorter, more succinct words to kind of captivate his audience. You can see the same thing happening with the infamy speech too. And then here is a look at the grade level. So Lincoln started and ended his speech for the Gettysburg Address with long words and real difficult vocabulary that is not as intuitive, but really drives his point home. And if you look at Flowers for Algernon, it's not perfect, but you can kind of see that in the beginning it shows his grade level as a little bit lower, and then towards around the 3/4 mark, you see that he's kind of upping it a little bit, and then towards the end he's back down towards the lower grade level. So then we can also sort all these uploads by all these posts by when they were uploaded, or their title, or we could even search for one. That's great. Alright, so now I'll show you how we can upload. So if we want to do So here we can upload President Obama's inauguration speech. And then we get back immediately what we just uploaded, and we can again filter on whatever we want to filter on. Graph. And we can see that for most of his speech he's maintaining a low grade level. It's kind of easier to digest. And now we can also do President Trump's speech and try and look and see what the differences are there. So for one thing, he's a lot more erratic in his speech, and most of his paragraphs, most of his units of work are much smaller for the most part. But then he does spike into these other. He spikes, but then most of them are very low, whereas Obama is he starts off low and then gets bigger and bigger and then drops down at the end. And you can see that Obama has a bit more of a trend in his, and it's kind of interesting to see that it's more of a settled flow against all these different statistics. And kind of one thing that a common trend now is that you can kind of see that around the 3/4 mark is when everyone kind of makes a big point or starts trying to get more complex in their speech and with their vocabulary. So that's about it for the actual site. Some of the technologies I used during this was, well, the main thing I tried to use is TypeScript to make it easier in the development process for static typing, which allows me to pass variables and objects and between the server and the front end with the guarantee that I know the exact types that are going to be happening or that are going to be used. So to show you that, I'll just show you the folder structure real quick. So right inside my source code, I have the client and the server, but I also have all these shared documents. So these are just kind of classes that are used between the two. And the two big ones are the analysis list. So the analysis, well, the two big ones are the request and the result types, and that's in both these analysis requests. So for a request, we get what we're searching for, what we're sorting by, direction, and whether to skip or take. So if we want to have a multi-page document at some point, we can split up the results that way. And then what we're returning is just the results, what we requested, and then how many are in it. So the total means that it's, even if we're only going to take the next 5, we will return the number that are in the total filter. So if we wanted to look at all of Obama's speeches and like 2,000 were uploaded to this website, we would only ever get 10 back, but we would know there's another 100 or another 1,950 if we only wanted 50 back. Yeah, so TypeScript was a big thing. Another thing was React. I tried to use that to make all the front-end rendering, but for the graphs I used D3. I guess a quick look at that. So both D3 and React are DOM manipulation libraries. So React is, I used React up until the point of the SVG, and then once I was inside the SVG, I manipulated the DOM with using I used React to manipulate the DOM up until the SVG element, but then once I got into there, I started using D3 in order to manipulate all the SVG tags. Yeah, and let me double check that I hit everything. React TypeScript, yeah, I didn't use Redis because well, really I ran out of time, but if I was going to scale this up more, I would think it would be a very important part of this project in order to make sure that the heavy text processing is done off the main server thread. And yeah, Bootstrap I didn't use because I was already using the skeleton code that I used was using Material UI, and that kind of already solved the issue of layout CSS. Yeah, so Material UI, that's the new one that I used. It's integrates really nicely with React and TypeScript. D3 I used was kind of tough, but I would have loved to do a little bit more with it, but it's just kind of frustrating to use. And text statistics, that's the main driver behind all the analysis and all the different fields that we see that we can graph by. Yeah, that's about it. And yeah, I put the link into the skeleton code that I started off with. Thank you.